Hello. Hello, here we are, May 29th, 2014, and I'm coming to you today to tell you a little bit about the UCC filings that Heather Tucci Two Shoes has been efforting. I wanted to give you a little bit of history as to what the UCC is so you understand its personage. It's very important as you're traveling to have a map if you've never been there before. And the UCC certainly is a location that most people have not been to. And so I thought I would give you a little bit of a guide along the hazard path. The UCC was created in the 40s for the purposes of international trade amongst very large corporate entities such as banks and oil companies that wanted to have a uniform method of establishing their particular point of view and their trade contracts with each other so that if they had an issue with each other, they could proceed following that uniform commercial code and nobody would be able to say anything otherwise. The instrumentality of having such a creation goes along with usury. Now, usury is the business motivator for commerce. Without usury, there wouldn't be a lot of banking going on in the world because the bankers wouldn't have much of a motive for existing. The existence of usury has long been held as a method of controlling the Gentile classes of men and women on the planet by basically owning them and keeping them in debt. If one thinks that the Uniform Commercial Code is anything less than a slave master's method of controlling its ownership over the various entities of the world, they have not done their research in the Talmud nor the Torah, which are the first 5 books of the King James Bible. If you don't bother to do that and you figure that you can ignore history and just take the future and what's happening in the present and be able to figure out a solution, well, you're sadly mistaken. I'd like to help you with that. And I'm hoping that more people would take the time, rather than call me an ignorant old fool that's pushing the Bible down people's throats, would examine that particular Bible, the instrumentality of it, was created by Constantine's followers after the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE. Prior to that, all books were singular. They were not compiled and put together in a big mass, except the Torah, which was the 5 books of the Bible. That was the only compiled instrument that was put together as far as scriptures. The rest of them were all documented in separate scrolls and texts. So the putting together of these scriptures, it certainly wasn't like a fax came down from heaven and God said, "This is my word." No, it was men that were inspired by that creative talent and were connected to it by inspiration and decided to put these words down. I can take a look at a black and white photograph of somebody and render that black and white photograph onto a piece of paper with nothing other than a pencil. And it will look very much like that black and white photograph. That's the inspiration that God gives me. Some people call that talented. Well, talent comes from the Creator, since He created all, inspires us all, and gives us the ability to think and see and have dexterity enough to recreate that which we see on either a 2-dimensional or a 3-dimensional platform. That UCC is a 2-dimensional platform. It is an instrumentality of fiction, of personage, created to control other persons. Corporations are persons. At the beginning of that book, it says, if you were to put your name into this book, you subject yourself to all of the laws of this book. That means by putting your name in that book, you declare that book is your new God. Well, if that's what you want to subject yourself to the laws of men, you want to have a dictator, well, then you should vote for a one-world government. That's what they're about, is to have a dictatorship where there's only one president, probably the Pope of the old Catholic Church, as it dies and restructures into a one world government, one world religion, one sane triple-headed beast entity. So I'm hoping that you will recognize that the Uniform Commercial Code is nothing other than a trap to verify and classify you as the godless, showing respect to persons, therefore saying that I'm a sinner. I need to be convinced of the law. James 2 and 9 in the King James Bible tells you that quite clearly, and that's supported by Deuteronomy 1:17 and 10:17, 2 Samuel 14 and 14, Matthew 22:16, Acts 10:34, Romans 2:11, and James 2 and 9. Now, those scriptures that I've just rattled off, I've rattled off many times before. And as people start to go through those scriptures and realize that God is no respecter of persons, and indeed the UCC itself is a person, an instrumentality of a person, and the method by which persons make claims against other persons. The whole purpose and point of the UCC is to accommodate and show respect to persons. Now, after you've seen the evidence in the King James Bible that has been the bait for the whole switch of the system over to man's law. That's right. The Bible was put up there so you would trust those people. It was used as bait. And then they switched you over to man's commercial law that they make in legislature and parliament every day, violating what the Bible says in Deuteronomy 4:2, 12:32, Leviticus 18, 3 through 4, Matthew 15, verse 9, wherein Christ says, "In vain did they worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men." So the UCC are one of those commandments and doctrine that Heather Tucci and her two-shoe group of followers have put forth to kind of in a mirage of a pink dance, decided to spectacularize the effort of freeing yourself from the false god system and making it look like it could be done with the aid of Mr. Rothschild that guided her and helped her and showed her how to do this scurrilous act, claiming that she was acting for all the other men and women of the planet. How can you act in contract for all the men and women of the planet when most of them have no idea who you are, what you're doing, or have ever offered permission for you to act as their agent? This is just a large fraud put in place to make a large amount of money for themselves, attract attention, get a bunch of other suckers to put up their necks, to be willingly drawn upon as the blood bank of the vampires is an ever-increasing quest for more blood. So I'm trying here as best as I can to let you know that the UCC is nothing other than a dark hallway trap that you certainly don't want to have your name attached to. You don't want to have anything to do with these people. You want to make sure you stay clear and keep your name out of such vile, dark registry. So I think I've done my best here. I've tried. This is the 6th effort, just so you know. YouTube, it's every time I get about 3/4 of the way, it shuts off and disconnects. So this video was made with my private webcam software, but unfortunately it takes about 12 hours to upload. So even though the date on here I announced is the 29th, as some other fellow noted, I announced on the 28th. It took me 12 hours to upload it, so by the time it uploaded, it was the next day, the 29th. So you probably won't see this till the 30th. But at any rate, my intent here, always as coming from the heart, is to provide you from the truth. I have no motive. I have no money to make. I have certainly no fame to gain. If anything, I've been trod upon and treated quite poorly by my efforts to educate the system. I certainly have not become glamour boy or very popular by telling the truth. But I do qualify that by offering anybody that can prove anything that I've said is wrong, incorrect, in error, misleading, or not towards qualifying your heart to a better day, then I wish you to contact me. I'm owlmon@gmail.com. I'm owlmon1 on Skype, and my YouTube channel is owlmon. That's OWLMON. I have nothing to do with Bohemian Grove or the Illuminati. I gained that name as a child because I collected eggs and I happened to raise owls in the backyard. I got knocked out of a tree by an owl. The word got around and I got called the Owl Man. So I've chosen Owlmon with an O-M-O-N. So I hope any of you that have some questions, or you can point out to me my error, I welcome it. It's not like I have an ego that I don't want to learn that I'm wrong. If anything, I welcome that, because I have a lot of explaining to do. I need to re-inform people if I've made an error, and you may be able to help me with that, and I'd appreciate it. But I do certainly hope you'll research what I've said so you can gain an advantage of yourself over not being scammed by UCC fanatics. Have a good day, and God bless. And I'll probably be speaking to you again in the near future. I usually try to get up at least one YouTube a month, although sometimes I haven't been of that capacity, but I'll keep trying. Thank you so much again, and may God bless you all in your efforts to find your way out of this darkened hallway. Blessings.